Hey, by the way, tonight's game, New York wins that outright.
You know he's on top. Million subs, he never gonna flop. Out of Chicago, where the streets don't sleep. Betting on games, making cash real deep. Crystal ball for sports, he knows the lines. He's a sports aficionado, the money he finds. From football to basketball, he's always on point. Predicting winners never disappoints. He's got that hustle, that Chicago vibe. Making moves on the streets, cash on the side. With E, you know it's always a bet. He's the king of the game, never forget.
Hello and welcome to the Etoft21sports show for December 10th. How is everyone doing? My name is Eric. I'm the man behind Etoft21sports. Absolutely loaded episode for you today. My boy Kyle, aka the DFS Bachelor, is this week's special guest. Really excited to pick his brain. I have not talked to Kyle in a hot minute. I also have some lovely dating stories for him that I'm sure he'll get a kick out of. But before we get into all that, I'd like to say thank you to the sponsor of the show, Boom Fantasy. If you're not using Boom Fantasy, download the app, use promo code ETOFT21. That way they know old Uncle Rico sent you. Now, let's welcome my boy from the West Coast, which is the best coast, Kyle, to the show. Kyle, how you doing today, my man?
It really is the best coast. I mean, you see it with all the Drake, Kendrick, right? I'm Team Kendrick, and you see all that. They're weird. Those East Coast guys are weird. See, they're all weird. That's West Coast. And did I see you Two for the Money me in your intro? Because I have a great story about Two for the Money. It's the greatest movie of all time.
Yeah.
Years ago, before I ever graced the camera with my nonsense and my bullshit on camera, I was a contractor for a long time. The biggest contract I ever signed, the biggest deal I ever got, I had no shot at getting. I was the smallest company in all of San Diego County bidding for this job. I watched Two for the Money and got kind of drunk off whiskey, and I called the guy. I did an over-the-phone bid, drunk as shit, confident as hell, because I watched Two for the Money. It changed my life. I think if you're having a bad day, you lost a few bets, you're having a bad beat, watch Two for the Money. It just does something to you. So nice job on the new intro. I like it.
Dude, I'm telling you, man. You know, CapCut is my new jam, dude. CapCut's my new jam. I've been messing around with that a little bit. Haven't talked to you in a minute, man. Those who don't know, Kyle and I, a couple moons ago, used to work at I don't even know the term. I'll describe it, but a place that's no longer around.
Defunct.
Yeah, we did together, NBA together.
Probably my fault. It's defunct.
No, it definitely wasn't your fault. NFL together. Really enjoyed working with you, so I was glad we were able to connect and you were able to come on the show. I always enjoy talking shop with you. NFL season has been a little wanky this year, to say the least. We always like to look back. Why don't you tell everybody a takeaway from week 14? What kind of stood out for you?
This whole season, I think it's the weirdest. I think this year, much like the country, it's like you can see things got to change. This points of emphasis the officiating in the NFL has got to change. I cannot watch another touchdown get taken off the board in a league that's already big play and touchdown starved, especially this year, because a 340-pound right guard went 7 feet too far up the field. It's the dumbest shit I've ever seen. These illegal formations, there should be no such thing as an illegal formation. It just shouldn't happen. You should be able to line up. What happens if you get rid of illegal formation? You get more creative plays. Get rid of the ineligible men down the field. What do you see? Like, I don't know if I'm alone on this island, but I feel like watching the NFL this year has been the weirdest experience. I felt so frustrated in every, especially standalone game. If you're not watching Red Zone, you're like, dude, there's more touchdowns taken off the board by nonsense penalties that have no impact on the game whatsoever than there are actually scored in the game. It's bizarre to me. Last week, few takeaways. Number one, we're gonna, we have more of them this week. The Bills and the Rams. What a game! It brought me back. They sort of talked about it the week before to that 1992 Bills 49ers game, the first game ever with no punts. That was a lot of fun. The teams are really starting to separate themselves now. The Detroit Lions and the Buffalo Bills, in my view, are the best two teams in the league. They're going to play this week. I think Kansas City's wildly overrated. We saw that again. And that kick actually cost me first. I'll send you the screenshot. I finished 6th in the Monday night DFS contest. I made one lineup, excuse my one lineup, and if that kick bounces out, I had Matthew Wright, but I just played in the regular spot. I lost by 0.36 points, 0.36 fantasy points from first place, splitting the 100K prize. I finished sixth and got a whopping $73 for my trouble because that kick, of course, for the Chiefs, of course, it hits the goalpost, it hits the upright, and bounces in. If that's any other team, it bounces.
Any other team, it goes the other way. It's
ridiculous. I'm so sick of Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if I'm just at first I was like, dude, this guy's really good. He's probably the best of all time, and he probably is. But I'm over it now. The way they play, killing 5 minutes of this is the whole NFL.
Yeah.
Have you noticed too? They refuse to let you go out of bounds. Right? They insist on running the play clock. Right? They're like, oh God, he did not make it out of bounds. I'm like, dude, that has been out of bounds my entire life since I was 8 years old and watching 6 years old, or at least for the past 37 years. That has been out of bounds. And now they're running the clock and they're running the clock and they're running the clock. You saw the Chiefs run 5 minutes of game clock and gain, 17 yards of offense. And then, for a chicken shit field goal, that mentality, something's got to be done about that. Because for me personally, as a lifelong fan, we're starting to put Mario Party on the big TV and throw the games on in the background because we can't stand looking at the referees all day long.
Yeah, I mean, the officiating has been absolutely brutal. Taylor, the tackle for the Chiefs, false start after false start after false start, not called. Look, and I'm a Lions fan. The inconsistencies with the calls the Lions were actually getting against the Packers on that Thursday night game, it's just night and day. There's no consistency, and the officials, that definitely needs to change because you and I both like UFC. You and I both do some UFC shows. We both bet it. The judging was brutal this past weekend. 300. My boy Volkov, I had Volkov plus 300.
Aljamain Sterling was robbed in my view in that fight
too. So I mean, judging, officials, whatever. There was a downfall of boxing, and we can't let this be the downfall of this sport. Goodell's a smart guy. I think he's going to figure it out.
Something's got to happen. It just, for me, I don't know about you. Am I crazy? It just felt different this year. It just seems like they've really emphasized on this, this procedural stuff.
Yeah.
And to me, I just can't take it anymore. I just don't want to watch it. I don't want to watch it. And
then you mentioned going out of bounds. Unless you're Davante Adams. I mean, the fact, I don't know if you, I had the Jets plus 6 against the Finns. Davante Adams let little Kendall Fuller, all 5'9", buck 75 of him, get him out of bounds. So the clock stops. So they kick the ball with 52 seconds left instead of being able to dwindle that down. That cost them a game because they won't lost it in overtime.
I mean, it's a miracle when they actually call someone out of bounds, though. You have to go they literally, if you aren't going fully forward and out of bounds, they will say forward progress and they'll just keep running the clock. And I've never seen that before. It's like they're purposely trying. A team gets the ball now, and they do a drive and they get 2 first downs and a punt, and that's 7 minutes off the clock. And you're like, dude, this is just. It's too. It kind of ruins the game for me. It's just less exciting in my view. I think they got to do something with that.
My takeaway, I said it during my AFC West preview, that my boy Vidal is going to be that running back that comes out of nowhere to win a fantasy football title for someone, and it's happening right now. 2 weeks ago against the Falcons, 26% of the snaps, only 4 attempts, 20 yards. Last week, 8 attempts, 34 yards. But more importantly, he played 53% of the snaps. He out-snapped Gus Edwards. He was in there during the blocking. The word on the street was he needed to pick up pass pro. He was in there and all passing downs protecting Herbert. And I think that's going to lead to him playing more because he's way more versatile than Gus Edwards. They're playing the Bucs this week, who are allowing 115.2 yards per game on the ground, 25th PFF defending the run. His rushing prop last week against the Chiefs, I called them Chiefs, 15.5. I was able to hit that. They offered 2 alt lines, 24.5. I hit that. I had 34.5. He finished with 34. 34.5 for plus 500. Missed it by the hook. I'm going to be doing it again. I'm going to use him in my Millionaire Maker lineup because he's going to be underpriced. I'm in the fantasy football playoffs in 2 out of my 3 leagues. I'm going to be rolling with him in 1 league if Brian Robinson can't go. So I really like Vidal. I think he's going to be that guy that kind of just comes out of nowhere and everyone's like, oh, shit.
Another guy in that exact same vein who I played last week in DFS at 4,400 and was great for me, and I know he's available everywhere. I couldn't find props. It's early. It's Tuesday, right?
Yeah,
So it's a little early. Isaiah Davis for the Jets. If Breece Hall is going to be out again, we'll see if they let Breece Hall play this week. But if Breece Hall's out again or limited again, Braylon Allen's the youngest skill position player in the NFL. I knew they weren't going to give him a huge workload, and they didn't. Isaiah Davis was in on all the big plays. They even threw to him in the end zone. He had the 17-yard rushing touchdown. In that very much that same vein as Vidal for the Chargers and Gus Edwards, it's very similar with Isaiah Davis. They're going to involve him in the passing game. Jacksonville, terrible defensively. They could get up later. They're not going to try to overwork the young kid. Isaiah Davis, if Breece Hall is out, is another guy to keep an eye on in that same vein.
Got a couple questions here. Which Commanders RB do you like if Robinson can't go, Nichols or Rodriguez?
Jeremy McNichols, easy call. They use him in the goal line. Basically, when there's no Brian Robinson, they use Jeremy McNichols in the goal line, and he's very good. He was good in his years in Tennessee as well, catching the ball out of the backfield. So McNichols for sure on that one.
Thoughts on Winston this week in DFS against KC?
I love Jameis every week. The problem is the Chiefs are joy killers. So the Chiefs,
joy killers.
They really are. They just all they try to do now. Remember when Andy Reid was creative and Mahomes was chucking 50 touchdowns, and they're just a lot of fun. Now it's a whole lot of 3-yard pass to Noah Gray, 4-yard pass to Kelsey, jet sweep to Worthy. Run the clock, run the clock, run the clock, run the clock. Don't take any unnecessary risks. Mahomes runs for 8. So they control the clock. And to me, that kills the fantasy upside. Now with the 2 running backs, they're just going to be running it. You're going to have a little revenge game, Kareem Hunt and Cleveland. And it's just, for me, if this was Chiefs 3 years ago, yes. But now they just run the clock so much that it's hard for Winston. I don't know if Winston's going to be able to stay on the field long enough to have enough of an impact that you're probably going to see a 2-1 game clock in terms of time of possession ratio in favor of the Chiefs. That's what they want to do every week.
What do you think of Xavier Worthy?
I think that he's played well, and I think he's always open. And when they go to him, fun things happen. But I think the Chiefs, they play like it's the weirdest thing. The Chiefs, they've gotten the success, and now they're afraid to lose it. It reminds me a lot of Brady at the end. It's just a short, quick, boring passing. But for me, I think Xavier Worthy gives them a massive wrinkle. When you look at the Chiefs, if they get healthy, Hollywood Brown gets healthy, Rashee Rice, DeAndre Hopkins, Xavier Worthy, the fastest guy ever. I mean, it's unbelievable.
The talent.
I just don't think they use him enough. It's weird. I don't know why, but Andy Reid, the best screen game. This guy should be getting at least 4 creative screens a game. And then off of that, you should be going downfield to him. I can't remember last time I actually saw it. I'll take that back. That Sunday night game against the Chargers, or the Monday night game, whatever the hell it was, Sunday night. That one deep ball to Hopkins that got knocked away, they called the pass interference. Yep. That was a good. But other than that, you don't really see Mahomes effectively go deep very often. And to me, they're missing an opportunity because I think Worthy's been more than serviceable as a rookie.
Where do the Bengals go next? You have a top 5 quarterback, top wide receiver, and up-and-coming running back in Brown. Good team being mediocre.
And again, I was looking for what Westbrook Akine touchdowns are going to be. He's this guy that doesn't get a lot of targets but scores touchdowns against bad secondary. That's the Bengals. The Bengals are one of the worst defenses I've ever watched play. Mm-hmm. They know it. You don't hear. Did you hear him last night? The coordinator said, "Listen, I hate to admit it, but we just need to try to get 1 or 2 stops if we can, please." Yeah. They have no talent whatsoever. So where they go is they have got to get better defensively. T. Higgins probably is not going to be there. I don't know how they paid T. Higgins to be there.
Mm-hmm. Why didn't you trade him? Why didn't you trade him in the offseason before the draft? Get a couple draft picks. You look at the team like the Patriots. Patriots easily would have made that trade. Probably would have been able to get what? 3rd and a 5th, 3rd and a 6th, whatever. And with how bad that defense is, they obviously need him. I mentioned the stat last week, and this is going to blow your mind. 20 games this year, there's been a quarterback that's thrown over 300 yards and have 3 touchdowns. Burrow is responsible for 5 of those 20 games, and in those 5 games, the Bengals are 0-5.
Yeah.
Through 12 games, Burrow has 30 touchdowns. There has been 7 quarterbacks that have done that. Their combined record is 9 losses. Burrow, 8 this season. That's just crazy. How bad this defense has been. And I agree with you 100%. You have to get that defense straight. Will the Lions' defensive injuries catch up to them this week against the Bills?
It could. Luckily for them, I'm taking the Lions. It's one of my official plays, -2.5 at home, because of the Bills' struggle stopping the run. Now, the Lions, obviously, we know they brought in Zadarius Smith to help make up for Aiden Hutchinson being gone. That's sort of paying off, but they're still, I think, bottom 7 in terms of win block rate on passing downs, are not getting to the quarterback. They're going to struggle a little bit against the pass. And that's obviously, so I expect points in this game. I'm too much of a counter to take the over 54 because I do know the Lions. We sort of talked about it with the Chiefs. The Lions are more fun to me. They're the most fun team in the league, but Dan Campbell's got 2 unbelievable running backs. It's the best 1-2 punch in the league. It's not even close. And he's not afraid to use them. You're going to see a ton of carries by both running backs. The Bills can't stop the run. So I think they chew up. That's why it's taking me away. You could see a game where you're nervous about hitting the over, but they're still not punting the ball away just because of how much clock is being run and you're just not going to see the ball hit the ground a lot. I think you see both teams are going to be really efficient. They're going to move the ball, not a lot of incompletions. I think the running game for Detroit will be the story at the end. Very close game. That -2.5. It's begging me to bet Detroit. I think they actually win this by a field goal, like 31-28. 27-24 on literally the last drive of the game would not surprise me at all in this one.
I think the point you make about the run game is a really good one. It wouldn't surprise me if we see the Lions drop their pace down a little bit.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
We saw Campbell do that at the end. That's why he went for it, because he knew his defense couldn't get a stop. Went for it to that way not put the ball in Jordan Love's hands. I think we're going to see the pace of the game be insanely slow this Sunday afternoon. NFC is a Lions to lose, right?
I think so. I really do. Philly's really good if they could get their act together. The Eagles, of course, are a team that can give you trouble. If the 49ers got healthy and got in there, I suppose they could give them trouble if they were able to get healthy. I don't know that they're going to be able to get there. I mean, really, Minnesota, I don't see it. I don't. They're a nice story and all that stuff, but when it just comes down to it, I don't see that. It's possible they do have the weapons on the outside to get to him, but again, it's the running game of the Lions that I think is going to be. And Green Bay, I don't think is there yet. No one in the West besides the Niners, the only team talented enough. So, to me, the Lions are there. I'll be surprised if the Lions don't make it to the Super Bowl. I'll be very surprised. That Lions-Eagles championship game is going to be a really, really good one if that's what we get.
If they go to the Super Bowl, I have no idea what I'm going to do, man. Like, I'm not used to this. You have to remember, like the Tigers made the playoffs. This is different to me. The Pistons are going to be in the play-in probably. This is different. This hasn't happened to me in a while. I'm not used to all this, my team's looking good.
When's the last time they all were good? That would have been like 1990, right? Like back in the Barry Sanders, when they all were good.
Wayne Fonts,
yep. And then the Pistons would have been like the bad boy Pistons, but the bad boy after they never got back to the final. So they're starting to pull them apart. They're starting to pick them apart a little bit.
Can Josh Allen lead the Bills to the Super Bowl?
Of course he can. He would already have 2. Like, you're telling me Josh Allen's last 2 postseason performances, he's played well enough. He's been the best player on the field, you could argue. He's been unbelievable. Yeah. It's just Mahomes. The Chiefs get that luck. They just they find a way to get, I don't know what you call it. But Josh Allen's Herculean. You saw him in a losing effort last week. 6 touchdowns, 3 rushing, 3 passing. He's unbelievable. He's unreal. In my view, the way that he's playing and the production, I know Mahomes has the wins. So sort of the Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. But to me right now, Josh Allen's playing better than Patrick Mahomes. It's not even close.
Oh, he's there.
He's so explosive. He's so explosive. He gets the ball down the field. He runs it. He does all the things that Mahomes and the Chiefs do not do. And that could sound like a Chiefs hater, whatever. But to me, I'd rather have Josh Allen than Mahomes right now. I think Josh Allen pushes the ball downfield, gives the defenses more things to think about. And Mahomes, all credit to him. I mean, he's sensational. But to me, they're pretty boring and they're kind of safe. And they're just, it's not what I tune in to watch.
To me, the Chiefs are giving me Eagles vibes from last year, a team that's finding these ways to win that shouldn't be winning games. It wouldn't surprise me if we see them drop next couple games,
Agreed.
lose first round of the playoffs. I think this team is prime for the picking. That's going to open up stuff where maybe we'll get Allen in the Super Bowl, which would be great for Buffalo.
I mean, they should have had that loss last week. We saw the Denver one. Nonsense.
Oh, dude, the Denver one. Any love for the Dolphins plus 2.5 on the road at Houston. Dolphins have to win that game, and the AFC South is a dumpster fire. Houston can still win the division even if they lose Sunday. I actually have a bet on this game a little later on. We'll get to it in a minute. What are your thoughts?
I love Tua. My fantasy football team name is Tua Girls One Cup. I mean, come on. He's
good. That's
pretty
good.
Bad. He's been my Q. I drafted him as my backup. Then he got hurt. I dropped him, then picked him back up. I have him and Baker now. It was him and Dak. Dakota is now, as you know, Dakota. I can't stand Dakota Prescott. I just can't. I can't stand him at all. Gosh. It's not the worst underdog on the Houston has a way of kind of playing down, right? They don't really put teams away. They are fully healthy now. They got that week off last week, that bye. Nico Collins should be in full swing. I still like Houston, but I would say, you're getting Miami indoors in Houston, or even if they open it for whatever reason, it's going to be warm. So you got that's good for that offense. Tua's extremely accurate, and there's something about him. A little bit of love, but I still think Houston gets that done. I don't know about you, but ever since Tua came, I can't believe that he doesn't have a Guardian cap on. I don't know why. It's so weird to me. And I don't know if this happened to you, but on every tackle now, every single play, like I watch Red Zone, so I'm watching thousands of plays, right? No commercials. On every play, I just say out loud, Tua would have died. Well, that tackle would have killed. If Tua just would have taken a normal tackle on any other play, like if he was a receiver and caught a pass in the flat and just got tackled, he'd be dead. He needs a Guardian cap, right?
I literally have a panic attack every time he runs.
Yes.
Literally every time he runs, I have a mini panic attack.
And I don't even know the guy, and I don't give a shit about the Dolphins either, but it freaks me out.
Did you're not a college football guy, but there is this hit in the SEC championship game that the Georgia quarterback took. And immediately I'm like, if Tua gets hit like that, he's dead. Literally.
Well, Carson Beck should have maybe got out of bounds, right? Hurt his elbow a little bit.
No. The backup quarterback was going in in overtime, and the DB leaded with his head, knocked him out. Carson Beck had to come in with one hand and hand it off to the running back for the touchdown.
So I love Texas. I do want to say, to my college football credit, so I got the NCAA football game for the PlayStation, of course, because it hadn't been one out in years, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to be realistic and build my career. So I started out as an offensive coordinator at the University of Indiana. This is way back in August. Okay. So I go on my baseball show and I say, you know what, guys? I'm going to play with Indiana. I think Indiana is going to be a sneaky team in the Big Ten, and I'm full of shit. I'm just playing, but I'm like, dude, the team's not bad on the video game. Lo and behold, they made the playoff. I don't know. I should have made the play. I called Indiana because of, obviously the O'Rourke brothers, Nathan O'Rourke, Canadian folklore, right? Nathaniel Rourke. So, of course, I'm going to root for his brother out in Indiana. But
they're playing well, and I think they're live against against Notre Dame. We're going to talk some betting, but you know what? We got to look back to see how we did last week on the show. Disappointing 2-4 last week. Wade hit Jameson Williams over 46.5 yards receiving, lost the Cards -2 and the Falcons +5.5. Old Uncle Rico hit the Packers +3.5, lost the Cards -2.5, and the Browns +6.5. For the show, we're an impressive 46-28-1. So disappointing first losing week in a while. And you know what? I had this big rant, full transparency, about Kadarius Toney. That was gonna be my rant today, but he got waived today. He got waived, so I had to totally.
He's such a fucking.
Did you see that in the fourth quarter? So they punt the ball. He does a fair catch. They're down 2 scores. Sorowick gets in his face. They jaw back and forth. Nothing big. Sorowick walks away. Toney just tosses it, lofts it, hits him in the back, gets a 15-yard penalty, goes to the sidelines. Post-game interview, he's like, yeah, everyone was yelling at me. I had no idea why I got a penalty. Dude, you threw the ball at the fucking guy, dude. You literally threw the ball at him. And then the back door is open for my +6.5, even though Hopkins has missed 2 field goals in that game. Somehow my +6.5 had a little life, he muffs the punt. He literally, it's like, how are you in the league? This is a guy that needs to be in the CFL, in the UFL, in the European League, but he cannot get any more chances because this guy is god awful, and he has all the talent in the world. All the talent in the world.
It's gonna be one of those movies, like, so he'll disappear for 4 years and he'll coach like junior high football, and they'll like encourage him to give it one more shot because he still runs like the wind. And he married a woman named Martha who helped him get his shit together, and now he's making his comeback, and he's more mature, and he's ready to fly. The Kadarius Toney story, 2029. No,
I think he's going to be like Josh Gordon, who played in the XFL. He's going to be one of those stories, and then something happened, didn't get along with his teammates. I think that's going to be it. I think that's going to be the Kadarius Toney story.
Josh Gordon got railroaded too. I mean, he's a fucking idiot, but like seriously, like a little bit of champagne and some weed. Like if I got in trouble every time I got drunk off champagne and got stoned,
yeah,
I'd never see the light of day. Literally never see the light of day.
Let's talk some bets. First bet, my friend, and you. I have a trivia question for you. When was the last time the Panthers were favored?
2022, I believe, is your answer. Is about almost exactly 2 years ago to the day, right? Very, very close. So it was in the 2022 season. I know that.
Do you remember the team?
It was against the God. It wasn't the Cowboys. Not the team they're playing here. Was it? Let's see. That would have had to be against. God, maybe Tampa Bay?
The Steelers.
Oh, wow, the Steelers.
Yeah, it was against the Steelers.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I'm fading them this week. The Cowboys are a train wreck. They suck. They're terrible, right? The Cowboys are bad. But this is the ultimate sell high. Like, I'm not. What has Carolina done? Am I missing something? So they went on this, I guess you want to call it a winning streak. They beat the Saints, who are dog shit. They beat them by 1 point. I think that was Derek Carr's first game back or he was still hurt, about to go.
Yeah.
Right? Real banged up. Saints, horrible. No Olave, none of those guys. They win by 1 point. Then it takes them overtime in Germany to beat the New York Giants, who might be the biggest dumpster fire. Like, they make Carolina look like the Steelers in terms of stability. And like the Giants are horrible. They barely beat them. Then they lose a close one to the Chiefs because, again, the Chiefs have they don't have any purpose other than to take the fun out of every game and just run the clock and win by a field goal. We're going to see that. So I'm not all that. I mean, they hung with the Chiefs, whatever, some good plays. And then last week, they lose again, a close game to the Eagles where, again, the Eagles didn't really throw the ball down the field, left a lot of meat on the bone. And did anyone ever think Carolina was ever really going to win the game? No.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden they're supposed to be favored. Look, Dallas, if we're doing that same football math, Dallas crushed the Giants on Thanksgiving. They look good. I think that Bengals offense is the best in the league. They look, I mean, Joe Burrow and I thought that defense, I know Overshown got hurt. That sucks, but Micah Parsons is back. They got Bland back out on the outside, Diggs on the other side. So they're going to be able to cause some problems for the Adam Thielens and Xavier Leggett's of the world. I just think it's ridiculous to be favoring Carolina. I'll take Cooper Rush and the Cowboys at plus 125. I think the Cowboys are absolutely live dog. Carolina just shouldn't. I'm not buying them as favorites again. If this was flipped, by the way, I'd take Carolina as underdogs too. This is all about the number. Give me the Cowboys at plus money.
Fun Cooper Rush story. So my parents live in Mount Pleasant. That's where CMU is. That's where Cooper Rush went. Okay. And the house behind them, the old coach would let players stay there. So, I mean, Antonio Brown stayed there. My dad's got Antonio Brown stories. My dad swears by Antonio Brown. He thinks Antonio Brown's the best guy in the world. So Rush too. Like, they shared a fence line. My old man would go out there, have a beer, and shoot the shit with both of them. Said they're both the best guys in the world. So I'm a Cooper Rush guy. I would probably be on the Cowboys here.
Dude, I like the Cowboys. And that was probably pre-Vontaze Burfict, right? Like, Vontaze Burfict gave him CTE.
This is when Antonio Brown was a normal person before he went.
Yeah. Pre-Vontaze. Vontaze Burfict just kept smashing him in the brain until it turned him into a crazy person. That's which, shit happens.
My first one, and I am going to Thursday night. I actually took the 49ers here minus 2.5. I say it all the time. Buying low, selling high. I think the Rams are a little overvalued coming off this win against the Bills. Shanahan and McVay, 9-6 in Shanahan's favor. ATS. Shanahan, excellent. One of the better coaches on the short week. 67% ATS on Thursday games. Favorites just historically cover on Thursday, 56% the last 20 years, 8.6% ROI. Home favorites, again, 56% ATS. Letdown spot. In the Josh Allen tenure, teams after beating the Bills are 44% against the number. And I found this really random. After they play the Bills in the Allen era, only 40% ATS. So I don't know what it is with Josh Allen there, but teams after they play the Bills are not covering. I like the piece.
Yeah, they're exhausted. He's unbelievable. He's running them to death. He's literally just beating them to death. Yep.
Rams, I like the defensive pieces. I like the young guys they drafted up front. But I really feel this team is still struggling. 20th DVOA in total defense, 24 in pass defense, 22nd in rush defense. I think the Niners are going to be able to move the ball here. Rams, 28th coverage per PFF, 31st defending the slot. I think this is going to be a Deebo Samuels game. I think we're going to see Deebo get back. I think we're going to lean on him a lot. I know people are making a big deal about Taylor probably being the only running back for the 49ers. I don't care. This is a Shanahan rushing attack against a Rams defense that is allowing 115 yards per game and 25th PFF rush defense. My fat ass could be back there, and it would be a successful running game. Also, Trent Williams, it's looking like he could come back. When we look at the splits with Trent Williams versus no Trent Williams, night and day, spots, trends, matchup, tell me to take the Niners here. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the Niners here -2.5.
Yeah, I love that. I'm on that same game. I like the over in that one. That's one of my official plays. The over.
All right, so let's go to that one. Tell everyone.
Yeah, for everything you just said. I mean, exactly what you just said. The Rams defense struggling, and some of their numbers, by the way, that it went the wrong direction. Josh Allen, when you play Josh Allen and give up 40, they ended up getting 42 points. Yeah. So some of those, but it's one of the youngest and cheapest defenses in the entire league. A lot of inexperience on the Rams defense. And right now with the injuries for the 49ers, I know Ward just came back. He's had a tough year. His 1-year-old child passed away. So Charvarius Ward was away from the team. He just came back. Still, Drake Greenlaw's working his way back. Bosa, maybe he will play. We're beat up defensively. The Niners defense, this is not the same dominant defense that we've had in the years past. Certainly susceptible in the secondary. Nakua and Cooper Kupp. I think there's a lot of points in this game. You mentioned Patrick Taylor Jr. being the only running back, so that means the ball is going to be in Brock Purdy's hands even more, which means what? The clock stops more. There's more possessions, there's more punts, there's more scores because the clock is stopping. You're throwing the football a little bit more here. I think the over makes sense. I see it's moved now to 49.5. Yeah, in 50 or under, I'll take the over on this one.
What do you think of Purdy? I think he's having a great season. I think lost in all this is how good he's actually been this year.
So I've been a 49er fan, as you know, since 1988, since I could watch football. I love the 49ers. I don't think they should pay him $250 million. That's what I was look. This year's been a chance. There's been no Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk. We had all that offseason stuff that he got hurt. There's been defensive problems, all sorts of problems. This was a year where, and you could say the same things have happened to the Kansas City Chiefs. Look at Rashee Rice and all the other things that happened to them. They still found a way to win games. The Rams were without Nakua and Cooper Kupp for a long, but they've still found a way to win games. The 49ers were still in the hunt, but if you want, in my view, if you want to pay a quarterback $250 million, you need to be able to say, hey, you need to go win this game for us. Brock Purdy's excellent in that system. I think he's a fine young quarterback, but for me, I'd rather just lose out, draft another rookie, and put him right back on that rookie scale and keep building this roster. I don't know about you, but there's something about, to me, having all this flexibility where I could put a defense where I have an all-pro at all three levels, where I have all pros on both sides of the offensive line, where I have two good running backs. It's hard to do when you're paying your quarterback $250 million. I'm not sure Brock Purdy's worth it. Me personally, maybe wait. We still have, if you want to see him play one more year, but he's going to have to prove it to me. And right now, we're 7 losses in. We're not in a super strong division. He's had chances to win us games that he hasn't won us. To me, I'm not sure that I'd pay Brock Purdy. That's where I'm at right now.
Now, obviously, Darnold is going to demand probably $10 million a year. Would you be willing, Sam Darnold,
go back to Sam Darnold for a year?
For 10.
I was really hoping we'd sign Daniel Jones. If I'm being completely honest, that's where I was at with Brock Purdy like 2 weeks ago. Like I would have loved to give. I mean, he obviously is familiar with the system, and he was there last, kind of resurrected his career. Mm-hmm. But then that puts us in a weird spot because we'd still have Purdy. Purdy's still under contract. If he's available for an extension this year, he'd have to play. He'd probably hold out, and maybe we'd get him on a franchise. Maybe we'd be able to do something weird like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I want to pay 2 quarterbacks. Paying 2. So then you're in a situation where you're paying 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. If we find a way to make the playoffs this year, if he gets us into the playoffs and he's able to carry the team here these last several weeks, and obviously with nobody in the backfield to really rely on, the ball is going to be in Brock Purdy's hands. Can he get us to 10 wins, give us a real shot to make the playoffs? For me, these next 3-4 weeks for Brock Purdy, in my opinion, are the most important of his career. I don't give a damn what he's done the previous, I know the previous 3.5 years he's been the number 1 quarterback in the league by the numbers, but I need to see it under adversity. The next 4 weeks, can you get us to the playoffs?
Now, one of the big rumors going around is the Bears trading for Kyle Shanahan. Do you think they need to get rid of Shanny and do a reset, get some new blood in there, new coach, kind of do a soft reset? Or do you think, hey, you know what? We have had so many deep postseason runs. We're due for a season like this. Let's just calm down and just go back at it back in September of next year.
Yeah. So Shanahan does frustrate me a little bit. We've seen it before, actually, in Super Bowls where he coaches a little scared, doesn't coach to win, coaches not to lose sometimes, and kind of chokes in big moments. There's no doubt about it. What happened last year in the Super Bowl, not understanding the overtime rules and botching that kickoff, it cost us any shot we really had to win that game.
Yeah.
It was a massive mental error, and it's something that he's just done time and time again. So I get the Niners fans who have that argument, but let's not be like, I tell people all the time, look, we've lost some Super Bowls, and that sucks. We haven't won one in over 30. This is the 30th anniversary this season of our last Super Bowl win back in Super Bowl 29 when we beat the Chargers. But it's still a hell of a lot of fun to be watching, to wake up on Championship Sunday and have your team playing, to make the little footballs, to eat the hors d'oeuvres. You know what I mean? Just because we lose a game here, I think it's ridiculous to fire Kyle Shanahan after your life. This is not like that he's lost the team and we're 1-12 and this is some sort of culture issue. We've been the second most successful franchise in the league over the last 5 years since he's been the head coach.
Yeah.
The only team to be more successful, of course, is the Chiefs. So these things are going to happen. It's important to remember, I know I'm going back and forth here, but we have the most amount of, we have had the most money in terms of salary and payroll on injured reserve and on the injured list than any team in the league this year. We've been heavily, heavily injured, tons of deep runs. Kyle Shanahan, I mean, you saw what we did to the Bears. Like, with all the injuries we had, the Bears have all the talent. The Bears were and Shanahan just out-schemed that entire staff. Kyle Shanahan's a special, special football mind, so I think it's a little early to be jumping the gun trying to fire Kyle Shanahan.
My next bet, I'm going down to Houston. I did it. I took the Texans minus the 3. Tua against a team that has a winning percentage of 500 or more is only 46% against the number. When on the road, 40%. When we bump it up to a winning percentage of 600 or more, on the road, 36%. Teams coming off a game in which it went to OT the last 20 years, 44% ATS. And I think the Dolphins made a big mistake getting rid of Vic Fangio. I am not a fan of this defense they're rolling out. Mm-hmm. They gave up 339 yards in the air to old man Aaron Rodgers.
And had he not had a 200-yard game in like 2 years? Not even a 200-yard game, right? Like, he hadn't been like something crazy. He hadn't even had a 200-yard game.
Not in 2 years. And the last time he went over 300 yards was December 12th of 2021. He has not gone over anything. Listen to these defensive grades. PFF, 31st coverage, 32nd PFF tackling team. DVOA has them as a 20th overall defense, 24th against the rush, and 20th against the pass. Dolphins, you mentioned Nico Collins earlier. Dolphins run zone coverage 68% of the time per PFF. Our PFF graded 31st team playing zone coverage. Guess who PFF has graded as the best wide receiver against zone coverage?
Well, I hope you're right because this is big for the fantasy. I have Nico Collins. I've been holding on to him. That's my guy, Nico Collins.
Nico Collins.
I just need CJ Stroud. That Texans offensive line's been a little bit weird this year. They're a weird team, the Texans are. They had like Joe Mixon looks like a completely different player with the Texans. He looks 10 times faster and more explosive than he's looked in years. But something about I don't know what it is. They should just be dominating in my view. They have talent everywhere.
I think they're going to lean on Mixon. I think they're going to lean on Collins. I think not having, because it's a weird thing when you look at Stroud's production, like over 30% of it is Nico Collins. And I think that 5-game stretch when he wasn't there cost him a lot of rhythm. Flip side, when we look at this Houston's defense, DVOA has them a second overall, pass defense third, rush defense first. I think the Dolphins are going to struggle moving the ball. You mentioned Tua. Tua is night and day, home and on the road. Look, I'll be honest. I'm not high on either of these teams. I bet both these teams not to make the playoffs at the beginning of the year. I think the difference, though, is the Finns secondary. It's a little bit banged up. I think Nico Collins is going to have his way. I think Mixon, you mentioned how explosive he's looked. I think he's going to be able to get some running lanes going. So I'm going to take the Texans here. Minus the 3. I hate it, but I'm doing it. I mean,
really, the only difference, right, has been quarterback health in the division. If Houston's in the AFC East, they're going to struggle a lot more, even though that division's not the only team really tougher is Buffalo. But that AFC South, that's a dog shit division.
It is absolutely. And the funny thing is like, now hear me out. I always like, first of all, the crazy thing is you mentioned it, the Titans. If they lose to they're playing the Bengals. If they lose to the Bengals, that means they lost to 4 or 5 teams that are going to have new coaches next season.
Yeah.
What does that say about Callahan?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like literally, what does that say about Callahan? But as crazy as it sounds, I think a team like the Titans, with how good their defense has been, if they can just get the problem solved with Will Levis, I think next year they could actually be decent.
And this week they're not bad. Their team total I saw was plus money, like early team totals offshore. I think it was 21.5 at plus 115, plus 110. Again, that Bengals defense is bad. I don't mind the Titans team totals this week. I think you probably get 20.5 minus 115. I think that makes a ton of sense. 3 scoring drives against that Bengals defense. Come on.
I mean, I love Calvin Ridley. I'm going to be all over Calvin Ridley. He's going to be laying.
And I'm telling you that Westbrook Akine, he's got like 30 targets and 300 touchdowns. I don't know how he does it, but he's good for a touchdown this week against that secondary.
All he does is catch touchdowns, man.
That's frustrating. Yeah, he's like a way shittier Chris Carter. Way shittier.
Last and final bet, man. You're going to Motown.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Lions. Like I said, I just think it's going to come down to who has the ball last. I think the running game, the Bills not being able to stop the running game is going to kill Buffalo this week. When you're playing DFS, this is in that late window. We have more late window games than usual this week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you're going to have 5 games in that late window. But a lot of people don't like to do it. If you want to pay up and play both running backs, I think you're going to see a touchdown by both Gibbs and Montgomery. They love doing that. The numbers, they've nuked the touchdown market, so I wouldn't necessarily bet it because even if you parlay it together, you're going to get a shitty price. It doesn't match market value. I don't know why they've done that to the touchdown props this year, but they've completely nuked them. But the running game at the end, Jake Bates hits the game winner. The minus 2.5, that's the sweet spot. If you're taking Buffalo, just take the money line. But this is going to be a close one. I think the 3 points is perfect. Jake Bates, game winner. Running game in Detroit, squeaks it out. Really, really good game. I would take the over, but I'm worried about the clock continuing to run here. Lots of first downs. I think both teams are really efficient. Very few punts. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Now, you just mentioned this. This popped in my head. How would you feel if, now I know 1,000,002 things can change, but let's say it is August 28th, 29th right now. I'm getting ready for my draft for the season-long fantasy. Would you be opposed to like drafting Montgomery and Gibbs? That way you just have all their production?
No, I really would. I'm telling you, like, it's DFS gold. It reminds me of years ago, and you used to win money, and I guarantee, I don't know what the numbers are. I'd have to go look it up, but I know the Saints in the old day with Kamara and Mark Ingram, and it was very similar. And these teams, they They're going to get 100 scrimmage yards. You know, they throw the ball. Like you think, oh, well, Montgomery won't get the receptions. Go watch their game last Thursday against Green Bay. David Montgomery had like 5 catches. Like, seemed like every big third down, they're throwing the ball to David Montgomery. Oh, yeah, and Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get 120 yards from scrimmage. They're going to get him a touchdown as well. Both running backs incredibly productive. Buffalo struggles mightily against the run. So then what do you do when you struggle against the run? You bring extra people up to help against this Lions run, which they have the best run blocking offensive line in the league as well. Then what happens now? You have Amon-Ra St. Brown and Tim Patrick, who's become huge for the Lions, come over from Denver, gets 2 touchdowns last week. He missed 18 months with back-to-back ACL injuries, was left for dead off the Denver scrap heap. Jamison Williams can absolutely fly. When they run play action and he runs that deep in route, that's a long touchdown waiting to happen. It's going to frustrate Buffalo. Buffalo's going to be scoring right back, but Detroit just has a little bit more to offer defensively, in my view, against the run than does Buffalo, and that's going to be the difference. Close 3-point game. I'm going to lean Detroit here at home.
I hope it gets it done. I would be ecstatic if they're able to pull this out, because, again,
it's a great game. I think it's a Super Bowl preview. These are the 2 teams I believe should be in the Super Bowl this year.
Oh, I would love it, because these are the 2 fan bases that probably deserve a Super Bowl.
I completely agree, and I love it. I will love the whole thing. I know one other hardcore Lions fan. Well, actually, tomorrow I'm doing I host a game show now on BetUS. I do it called the Football Feud. It's a debate show, and we're going to bring a Lions fan and a Bills fan on to debate who's going to win. But my one other is a kid we used to play baseball. He's a bartender here at the local bar, literally within walking distance of my house, and he should just. I'm like, how you doing, Nick? He's like, dude, I don't know. I haven't felt like this since I was 8 years old. You know, I don't know. You know, and it's just and I don't know how they keep signing. Like, what the fuck? How did they signed Montgomery, they signed Gibbs, they signed Goff, they signed where's all this fucking money coming from for Detroit? What the hell is going on? How are they signing everybody?
Dude, Brad Holmes, man, he's just a genius, dude.
I don't fucking get it. It's unbelievable.
He just knows his stuff, man. My bet. And it's the standard here. Anytime the Steelers are a dog, I'm going to take them. Give me the Steelers plus 5.5. Tomlin as a dog is my BFF. 62, 31, and 2 ATS in his career as a dog. That's 67%. Getting between 3.5 or 7, 24 and 11. That's 69%. I thought you get a kick out of that. Road dogs. He's 63%. Now, I think you mentioned the Eagles getting their stuff together. I think there's some serious locker room issues going on. The big rumor is that Hurts and Brown aren't getting along. And just to put it in perspective for everyone, Hurts is the godfather of A.J. Brown's kid. So these guys were close. And now, based on what Brandon Graham said, I don't know if it was on a podcast or a radio.
Yeah, it was.
He said that Hurts is basically the one trying to mend the fence. And Brown is basically just telling him, F off. I don't want anything to do with it. So look, I don't know what caused all this. Is this all because he's not getting the ball? Was there something that happened off the field? Did it involve a girl? I literally have no idea.
Maybe everyone's tired of watching that stupid fucking tush push. Maybe everyone, maybe some of us play Saquon Barkley in DFS, and we don't want to watch Jalen Hurts get 17 rushing touchdowns a game because they call the most obnoxious chicken shit play in the history of football. It's so chicken shit. I can't stand it. And then what makes it worse, Nick Sirianni, who I think is one of the biggest douchebags who's ever graced an NFL sideline. This asshole likes to fake the tush push now on extra points. Do you see this? Where he goes out and tries to get him to jump off sides on a 2-point conversion so he can tush push it as well, where he just waits. You're just sitting there watching an extra point for 10 minutes on the screen because he's an asshole. I can't stand it. Maybe everyone's looking around going, you know what? Why is Jalen Hurts why is everyone acting like he's playing so well? He can't throw it to an open receiver, but he has 13 half-yard rushing touchdowns. I bet you players are just sick of that shit. I wouldn't blame A.J. Brown for going, I'm tired of having 3 touchdowns on the year while this lazy fuck who can't throw me the football has 20 rushing touchdowns. I'd get sick of that.
Now, I think you're right. I think it's because they're the heaviest rushing team in the league. I think he wants the rock, and I think he's just pissed. And you mentioned Sirianni. This team literally has no leadership, and I don't think not having an adult in the room.
Yeah, Sirianni's a punk kid, isn't he?
Is going to feather all this. And you mentioned that I'm having flashbacks to that game against the Jags, where what was it? They faked to do. They did what you said. Then they had burned a timeout, went back, kicked the extra point, but there was offsides on the extra point. Went up, went for 2, didn't get it. That was like a 20-minute sequence.
Remember? It's Sirianni. I can't stand him. It makes me crazy. I have to get up and watch. I quit smoking cigarettes since the last. I haven't smoked cigarettes for about 5 months now. And when they're pulling that shit, it makes me want to smoke.
Yeah, he's a piece of work. And obviously Steelers, we could bitch about Sirianni probably for another 50 minutes, but huge coaching advantage with Tomlin.
Oh yeah, I actually went on Joe Madden's show on Sports Grid. I actually have a future on this. I took the Steelers 8-1 to win that division. They were a long shot. I thought they were the best long shot going into the year. I thought Justin Fields should have remained the quarterback. This Russell Wilson nonsense. I know his numbers are great. All he does is float it up. Justin Fields, in my view, a much better player than Russell. Russell Wilson is such a fraud. You know I hate him. I hate him.
Yeah.
I can't. But just like this just fucking – he just floats it up. He just lofts it up, and if someone catches it, cool. If not, it floats out of bounds. It's like using a shitty Tech Mobile quarterback, but it's working for him. So congrats to the Steelers.
Another idea is there's an old saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Do you think this week the Eagles are going to force the ball to A.J. Brown, thus they're going to lose all this momentum with the rushing game? Is that
certainly possible? I would take a look at his receptions prop. So what do you do when a player's not getting the ball? And again, you don't have a lot of confidence going down the field. You find easy ways to get him the football. So little wide receiver screens, bringing him motion and hitting him out there. So I think you could see more quick passes to him to try to get the ball in his hands. Use him as an extension of the running game a little bit, which would increase his reception total, maybe bring his yardage total down some, unless he's able to bring a tackle or something. But maybe looking at, I think an extra reception or 2 or 3 this week is certainly on the docket for A.J. Brown, especially without – I mean, Brandon Graham, have you ever heard – I don't understand what Brandon Graham was doing.
Yeah, why?
And then he says – I was just trying to keep things out of the media. What do you mean? You called them out. Did you have any idea they were really fighting other than the camera sideline shit? Just like that.
Camera sideline, and then there was a post-game thing where they asked Brown what was wrong with the offense. They said passing.
But again, we are speculating, right? We're all speculating.
There's like little rumors, but then that happens. That's Belichick or Vrabel. I mean, that guy's probably cut.
By the way, is Belichick going to coach in college at 72? He's going to go. He's going to go on the recruiting trail for North Carolina football.
I think what's going to happen.
I don't understand.
The big thing is he's going to bring Steve, his kid, and then he'll probably do it for 2 years, and Steve will take it over. I think that's.
But it's just weird that he's going to say, "Come to North Carolina to play football." I just can't. First of all, I can't imagine any mother wanting to see Belichick's gross floppy ass flop on their couch and ask for a drink after you saw him skulking out of a 21-year-old's apartment with his old fat wrinkle. Ugh, he's just a not attractive man, Eric. I just don't think he should be on college campuses after what we've seen happen.
He's gonna make that like a pipeline. I think it would work if he did it. I was looking at it. This is going to be the best rushing defense that the Eagles have played per DVOA rankings since the Browns. Browns held Barkley at only 47 yards.
Yeah.
I think there's a path where the Steelers are going to be able to limit Saquon Barkley, take the offense out of the rhythm. They have the special team advantage. They have a huge kicker advantage. Broswell is having a great season.
Yeah, because Russell Wilson's a coward. Do you see my point? He's kicking 100 field goals because that's all they do.
But you mentioned this. Since Wilson has taken over, the Steelers are averaging 29 points a game. Their offense is putting up. Defense is playing great. Eagles have the Commanders on deck. Isn't that more of a pivotal game? I know they're like close, quote-unquote, rival, but you have a chance to lock up the NFC East next week. I know everyone's talking about the Eagles' defense. This defense gave up 118 yards on the ground to the Carolina Panthers. They're allowing 142 yards on the ground the last two games. I think Harris is going to be able to move the ball. We got the locker room issues. We got the trends, special team advantage, huge coaching advantage. I think the trenches have some wheels for the Steelers. I'm doing it, dude. I'm doing it, man. Give me the Steelers. Plus 5.
I like it.
You know,
Eagles kind of stuck in the mud. And again, it's all these teams that rely so much. They can be sticks in the mud sometimes. Baltimore last year, they rely on that quarterback run a little bit. They get so run heavy. And when it doesn't work, they just become sort of you don't have any rhythm throwing the ball because you spent so much time running it and running it and running it and wearing your quarterbacks out there. Seems like the only one really immune to that is Josh Allen. But in your offense just becomes a little stagnant. 1st and 10, you run it for 2 yards. Second and 8. Second and 8, you run it for 2 yards. Next thing you know, it's 3rd and 6. You're out of rhythm. The ball hits the ground. That happens 3 or 4 times in a half. Next thing you know, you're not, you know what, the way the clock's running, teams aren't getting out of bounds. You know, there's just more of an emphasis, it seems like, on running the clock and running. You end up never getting going. And Philadelphia teams that rely on the run that heavily, you're certainly in danger of that happening against a good defense.
Excuse me, how far do the Eagles have to make it for Sirianni to have a job next year?
I would say probably just one playoff win. If for some reason they fall apart again now and start losing games, like if this sets off where they lose 2 or 3 and they go in and they get beat in the first round of the playoffs, it's tough because it's sort of unprecedented, right? With that many wins. I mean, right now they're basically, you know, they're right there with Detroit for the 1 seed where they have 2 losses. So it's hard to imagine, but I don't know if you're Jeffrey Lurie, like, aren't you really looking like, dude, I don't have a grown-up coach. Like, I can't stay. Like, how can anyone stand Nick Sirianni? I don't know how anyone.
You don't have an adult in the room. He is not mature enough. Reports have been coming out after they had that bad loss earlier in the season. I forget who was against. And Hurts was the one talking to everyone in the locker room. There was no leadership from the coaches. I think that's definitely going to be an issue.
I think he's got to win a game. I don't know if they don't win a Super Bowl per se, but I mean, God, they're 10-2.
I think they at least have to make it to that. I think if they make it to the NFC Championship game, he's fine. But if they go to the NFC Championship game, lose big to the 49ers, big to the Vikings, Lions, whoever, they lose big in that championship game, I think he's out. If it's a close game, I think he survives one more year.
I don't think those Niners are going to make it. It's a tough path. Let me see. I got to look at the numbers here, but I think my Niners are like out of it. I mean, let's see, playoffs. So they have it's not looking great. We're 11th in the conference. We got to catch those Rams. This is a big game. This Thursday.
I mean,
I guess we could get there.
They could get there, man, for sure, dude. Like, I'm looking at it right now.
If we got to win this week, if we lose this game, it's over.
I think this is an elimination game. I think whoever loses this game is just out. So,
and I don't think I know the Falcons will probably beat the Raiders this week, but that's a fraudulent team.
Oh, I hate the Falcons. I think the Falcons are.
Kirk Cousins, doesn't it remind you of Any Given Sunday? He's Cap Rooney, and you got Michael Penix, you've got Jamie Foxx on the bench, just ready to go. Like, Kirk Cousins looks like he is afraid, and he looks slow, and he looks like he's lost some zip on his fat. He kind of reminds me of Peyton Manning those last couple of years when he had the neck issue and he couldn't put anything on the ball. That sort of reminds me of Kirk Cousins this year.
Well, I mean, you mentioned that the main thing that they did is they moved London in that Chiefs game from the slot, from outside to the slot, because he literally cannot throw the ball down field at all. And I'm going to say this. If you want to be a successful OC, how can I say this? Is there ever going to be an OC that is able to find out what to do with Kyle Pitts?
Like, at what point do we stop giving Kyle Pitts excuses? Like, at what point is it not Kyle Pitts' fault? Like this guy has had coordinators. He just is not productive. I don't know what the problem is. I don't know. Am I? You know, you're good at the coaching and the breakdown. Is he open all the time and just not getting the ball, or is he just not getting open because
he's just not getting open? Like,
I don't know. TJ Hawkinson sure seemed to thrive under Kirk. Every tight end that's ever played
tight
for
end,
Kirk.
even God, what was that guy?
Jordan Reed.
Yep.
You know, he was injured all the time and was still people wanted to draft him in the 3rd round on their fantasy team because Kirk Cousins would give him the ball so much. I don't know what's up with Kyle Pitts. I have a hard time believing that it's just all these players' faults. At some point, Kyle Pitts has to be responsible for his production.
Dude, so I'm looking at your boys' schedule. 49ers, Finns, Lions, Cards.
Lions, by the way, hate us. You know why? I mean, because of last year, they had us beat, and we came back and beat them to go to
But
the
I mean,
Super
like,
Bowl.
I definitely think there's a path. I
Well,
definitely
yeah, we have to win all. We have to win all the. We need to win 3 of the 4, and we need. And so obviously the loss is Detroit because I don't think we're going to beat Detroit. I really don't. I think Detroit's going to beat the living shit out of us, quite frankly.
And my girl Lady D is in the Instagram chat room. Can't pull that up. Her quote is "Fuck the Falcons."
Seriously, fuck the Falcons. Honestly, like fuck the Falcons. Like always, just fuck them always. You know what I mean? Like when have they ever done anything like good or cool? They're just fuck the Falcons.
Kyle, I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your schedule, coming on, talking a little NFL. Why don't you tell everyone when your Bet US shows are and where they can find you on social media and everything?
Yeah, and obviously anytime, dude. I know, like last time, I keep flaking, getting hung over or being on vacation, so I'm glad I made it. It's been my fault, but I'll come on anytime. Of course, I love coming on with Erik. Don't forget to subscribe and all that good stuff. Bet US during baseball season, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern every day. During the off season, we're still doing it every Wednesday. Tomorrow, 4 o'clock Eastern time, 1 o'clock Pacific, the Football Feud. Every Friday at 2 o'clock Eastern, breaking down the UFC card. And I think that's it. Yep, that's it.
Okay. All right. Dude, always a blast working with you. Really enjoy it. Lucky to call you a friend. Look forward to having you on again. Have a good holiday, man. And let's definitely do this again. Good luck in your bets, and we'll talk soon, my man.
Later, man. Good luck, and thank you, everyone, for watching. Appreciate it.